Hello, one and all! It's my review of My Hero Academia, Chapter 301, The Wrong Way to Put Out Fire, Part 1. And this chapter did an amazing job of clearing up a lot of misunderstandings I've had about Endeavor for a very long time. I mean, those misunderstandings do make sense. We've only gotten bits and pieces of Endeavor's backstory, told from the point of view of people who really don't like him up to this point. But here we had an honest look at exactly what he went through, exactly what turned him into the man he is today. I mean, first off, I think a lot of us were assuming that with Toya, with Dabi, Endeavor was putting him through this super harsh, super awful, painful training, even after learning about his weakness, and that's what broke him. But that's not the case. We see Toya, super happy, super excited, super energetic about the chance to train, to keep pushing himself, to go harder and harder. And instead it was Endeavor who tried to stop the training, who tried to get him to stop pushing himself, stop hurting himself time and time again. He even says, no matter what I say, he comes home with fresh burns every day. So Endeavor was really trying to get him to stop hurting himself, trying to get him to stop that awful training. It wasn't something he enforced upon him. I mean, it even seemed to be implied in this chapter that the very reason, at least part of the reason, why Endeavor had Shoto, why he kept trying to have kids after Toya, was so that he would eventually have the perfect child, a child who actually could become the #1 hero, who could essentially take the burden off of Toya's shoulders and convince him, okay, stop, you're done, you don't have to keep doing this. This kid over here, Shoto, he will become the true #1 hero. I mean, I do get what Endeavor is trying to do here, but seriously, does this world not have child therapists? That seems like a job for a psychologist, family therapist, something, instead of, okay, let's have another kid so that, we can convince him he's a mistake and he isn't needed anymore. What the freaking Christ, Endeavor. Bad parenting there. Though not the level of awfulness I had attributed to him up to this point. And I mean, seriously, that harsh training way he did to Shoto down the road was more a result of all this happening, of, the price he had to pay for Shoto. He essentially had to ensure that Shoto would become the #1 hero, had to live up to those ideals, or everything he put Toya through, everything he put his family through would essentially be for nothing. I love that, absolutely freaking love that. And then we have Ray's family, his wife's family. It definitely seems to be applied, at least in my own mind, that Endeavor basically went to them and said, hey, here's a bunch of money, give me your daughter, or I will kill you. I mean, again, that's Shoto's own interpretation of it, and Shoto's definitely a biased witness. But it is made abundantly clear they are super happy about selling off their daughter to the #2 hero in order to regain their family honor and prestige. I am sure they regret that decision right now. I am sure of it. And it definitely seems to me that Endeavor actually did care for her, really did come to love her. He says, she was a lot like ice herself. Strong, but prone to melting at the slightest touch. This smile he has, the way he describes it, really just seems like he did actually fall for her. He did actually, fall in love with her in this moment when he saw that harsh, cold face of her turn to a smile like that. I really like that. Though again, her family wanting to regain their previous prestige, it feels like something we've seen before in this series. I mean, attempting to hold on to the old world instead of moving on to the new one. I mean, we saw that back with the Yakuza, they wanted to retain their honor as dignified criminals instead of being labeled as villains. And even way back when, before the first sports festival, Aizawa said, the Olympics are trying to hold on to the old world, that's why they don't allow quirks, so the UA Sports Festival is basically the #1 sporting event in the entire freaking world. I don't know, it definitely seems like a major theme in the series, attempting to hold on to the past in a world that's just keeps changing and changing. Curious about that. Anyway, then we see Ray visiting Endeavor, and I just love this line between them. Ray, are you really okay? Okay? No, I'm not okay! My son is a serial killer! You're in a hospital bed, my other son can't talk, my other 2 kids are really ticked off right now. I am not okay. But this expression she has in the next panel, that's why I'm here. It seems strong, but maybe hopeful, maybe optimistic, maybe... I'm not really sure, but I really love this look she has on her right here. I just really love it. Then we flash over to Dabi, who comments how he can't feel a thing anymore, which I'm very curious about that. Was something done to him to essentially destroy his nerve endings so he won't feel pain anymore? I mean, his body's literally stitched together. I feel like, that should hurt a lot, a freaking lot, and yet he never even flinches when he sets himself on fire, so... Very, very curious about that. Again, I've had this theory for a while now that somehow, some way, the government was involved with him faking his own death and, they ran experiments on him, gave him experimental drugs or whatever to try and make him immune to pain or something like that. So at least that's my own crazy theory. And it definitely is interesting that when he talks about his family, I mean, he uses their names for all of them, even referring to his own father as Enji Todoroki. But he refers to Rei, he refers to his mother as mom. That seems to imply, at least to me, that, he doesn't blame her, he doesn't view her the same way as he views everyone else, like they're somewhat responsible. He views her as like the victim, somebody he does actually still care about. Which is very curious. I mean, he goes on this whole rant about he's super excited for Endeavor to give a press conference, to see his mug on the screen trying to explain away everything he did, seeing him in basic agony. I think it's going to really, really tick him off if his mother is standing next to him when he gives that press conference. I really want to see that. I really want to see her by Endeavor's side when he tries to tell the world what's going on, what really happened. Oh, I would love that. I would freaking love that. And then just the shot we get of Dabi literally crying blood into the past. Oh, I love that. I freaking love that. Anyway, then the flashback gets explained that Dabi is essentially immune to ice, but not to fire, which, is definitely a problem for him, given that his quirk is fire-based, and is even more of a problem for Shoto, because sooner or later, Shoto's gonna have to fight Dabi, and I'm very, very excited for that, but if his ice won't work on him, that means he'll have to essentially beat him in a battle of fire, meaning he will literally need to make his fire hotter than Endeavor's in order to beat Dabi. Oh, that's gonna be a fun fight. That's gonna be a very, very fun fight. Then we get the shot of All Might, who just saved 62 different towns and cities in a single day. And you hear Endeavor's words, "You can surpass All Might, Toya." How? I mean, literally, how? How are you expecting Toya to match All Might, to be a better hero than All Might is? Admittedly, I could definitely see Dabi or Shoto being stronger than All Might, like being able to beat him in a fight, but in terms of being a hero, All Might's speed is what makes him, number one, essentially. There was a recent chapter in Vigilante that showed a flashback of All Might. In 3 seconds, he took down like 60 villains, managed to give some kids a piggyback ride, and helped some ducks cross the road. In literally 3 seconds, before his pillow even hit the freaking ground. So, yeah, there is no way you can match up to that with just, power alone. You need speed, and that's not something that Toya could ever obtain, even if his fire-based quirk was, literally 10 times stronger than Endeavor's. It's not a question of power, it's a question of speed. And then we see Child Fuyumi, and she is so freaking cute. Oh my god, she is adorable, I love her. She's doing her best, trying to convince him to give up, trying to convince him not to hurt himself anymore, saying, "I don't like when you get hurt either." Oh, she is so adorable, I love her. Also, I ship her with Eraserhead. That's not related, but I just want to point that out right now. I know it's a weird ship, but it makes sense if you've read the School Days light novel. Anyway, like I said before, it definitely seems like Endeavor kept having kids try and convince Toya to give up, so that there would be someone else in the family who could take on the position of number one hero. It wouldn't have to be him. And you can definitely tell from this page, Endeavor kept getting more and more desperate to live up to All Might, to essentially have a child that could do it in order to just, well, partially because his own pride was hurt, but also because he just wanted to save Toya, wanted to take the burden off of him, basically. Then we see Toya's training grounds. This is also, I think, where he essentially faked his death. It was said, he died up on the mountain, and all that was found of him was a piece of his lower jaw. I think this is where it happened, essentially. And just, oh my god, Endeavor is trying so hard to convince him to stop. Just the look of absolute desperation on his face, saying he wants to be a hero. He wants to live up to the ideals. He wants to be looked at. It's so heartbreaking, and it's so familiar. I mean, seriously, this is also Shigaraki's backstory in a way, and Deku's. I mean, Shigaraki, he was a kid who wanted to be a hero, and his father kept saying again and again, "You can't be a hero, you can't be a hero." I mean, he was much more violent about it than Endeavor is, but at the same time, they feel very similar, especially, the look that he has when he goes after Shoto, which I will definitely talk about. He has that same look like a wild beast that Shigaraki had after he murdered his father. And at the same time, there's also reminiscent of Deku, Deku wanted to be a hero. He wanted to be the number one. He wanted to be like All Might, like his hero. And he just kept being told again and again by the world, by reality, by his family, that he couldn't work, that he couldn't be a hero. And yeah, actually, the look on Toya's face right here is very, very similar to the look on Deku's face when he asked his mother if he could be a hero. Just realizing that's a very similar face. Also, while we're talking about similarities, the line, "The one who lit the fire under me," is used quite a bit in this chapter to refer to how Endeavor tried to convince Toya that he can be the number one hero. But that same line was used by Recover Girl, which talked about how All Might lit a fire under Deku, and that's the reason why he was pushing himself so hard. That's the reason why he kept breaking all his bones again and again, destroying his body. Oh my god, there are a lot of parallels here. I mean, seriously, people wonder why villain Deku storylines are so popular. Well, that's because he basically had the same backstory as a lot of villains, just with a slightly happier ending. I mean, Deku could have very easily become a villain if things just worked out a little bit differently. Anyway, then Toya attempts to murder Shoto, which, yeah, that's something else. I mean, I feel like this scene would be more serious if Shoto didn't look so surprised. I mean, seriously, look at the expression on this kid's face. I see a lot of people online commenting that looks like Shoto just got isekai and realized that this is the family he reincarnated into. Oh, I love that expression. I love that expression. Also, really should point out that Fuyumi is trying to protect Natsu. You know, trying to guard him to make sure he doesn't get hurt from this attack. I love that. And then we have the last lines. You don't get to claim you're hurting more than anyone, and you're not the only one who didn't really see him. That's such an interesting line. I feel like it could be interpreted a few different ways here. You don't get to claim you're hurting more than anyone. I mean, seriously, Rei is obviously in a lot of pain right now, learning that her son is a serial killer, that she basically raised a serial killer. And then secondly, and you're not the only one who didn't really see him. I feel like this could be interpreted two different ways. I mean, first off, it could basically be her saying, you know, I also didn't realize how dangerous he was. I didn't realize how much of an issue it was. I didn't realize how violent and angry he was. I didn't realize, you know, he would essentially become a serial killer if we didn't take actions to stop him. But at the same time, I feel like she's also saying, you know, I didn't see him. I didn't see the real him. I didn't see the pain he was going through. I didn't see, you know, exactly who he was and what was motivating him. Didn't see his desires, his expressions, all of that. And because of that, he became who he is. But the question really is, though, what's going to happen next? Because, you know, Shoto was just born. He's a few days, few weeks old at this point. It's going to be at least another, 3, 4, 5 years before Rei throws the boiling water on him and scars his face. And then it'll be shortly after that when Toya fakes his death and runs away. I mean, how exactly do you respond to your oldest son attempting to murder your youngest son? What do? Do you separate them? I mean, clearly they did not get him psychological help. That much is very, very obvious. But I don't know. I'm just so confused about what exactly they're going to do to try and restrain him, try to stop him, try to convince him to do otherwise, try to convince him to become someone else. I just really don't know. I really don't know. I mean, it was said, you know, he died during the training accident on the mountain, so it's not like they locked him up away or something like that. They're gonna let him keep walking free after he attempted to murder a baby. A baby, for God's sake. So yeah, definitely some bad parenting all around this family, but as a whole, I'd say that Endeavor is not nearly as bad as a parent as I thought when I started reading this chapter, which, interesting. Gonna be interesting to see what Rei does moving forward. It feels like, you know, she's here now to support him, support her kids, and when he does do the press conference, she's gonna stand at his side. She's gonna basically say, I'm here, I support my husband, this is what happened, and he's gonna keep moving forward. He's gonna keep being a hero because Japan needs him right now more than ever before. I know you're not gonna like him. I don't even like him all that much, but, you know, Japan needs him, and he's gonna be here to protect the people. He is here. So just deal with it, Japan. And Dabi is going to have such a violent reaction to that. Such a violent reaction. I cannot freaking wait to see that. So, I mean, the whole, besides Toya, the whole Endeavor family is all together right now. It's just going to be interesting to see how they all interpret this. I mean, from what little information we got, it definitely seemed like Natsu was closer to Toya than Fuyumi was. Like, he was more angry about his death than Fuyumi was. And I think it might be because Fuyumi actually, you know, knows Toya better. She knew him more. She had more experience, you know, with the life he lived, with who he was and who he was becoming over time. So she's less biased. So she's not as surprised to find out that he basically became a serial killer, given that right now she's watching him attempt to murder a baby. A baby! But yeah, let me think all this down below. What do you think of this chapter? Did it change your opinions and your views of Endeavor? What exactly are they gonna do to Toya now that he's attempted to murder a baby? A baby! That's 3. No more, I promise. I mean, again, he was free to continue doing his training even after this, so it's not like they locked him in a psych facility like they did with Rei. They just, you know, separate him, attempt to raise Shoto away from the rest of the family so that he would be safe. If that's the case, that could definitely mean, you know, Toya was deprived of his mother. She went to the other place, the other facility, the other home, where she raised Shoto, you know, basically in peace, while Endeavor hired nannies or whatever to look after Natsu, Fuyumi, and Toya. You know, visiting him time to time, but putting most of his focus on Shoto, on his training, and on his raising him. That definitely would explain, you know, why Toya doesn't blame her as much if she actually, you know, wasn't there. If she views it as Endeavor forcibly separating her from him. At least that's the best way I can interpret all of this, but please let me think all this down below. Be sure to like, subscribe to this video. Until then, peace!